Hey guys, welcome back to episode 28 of the BMW M Coupe project. And right here on my left, you can see that this car is pretty much almost ready for paint. However, I also need to do the other panels too, like my front bumper, front fenders, side skirts, and rear bumper. And along this episode, you're gonna find me just basically trying to do the repair of my front bumper, along with putting on primer and all the other parts too. But before I get into today's episode, I do want to thank my friend Oscar, who's the owner of the body shop that I'm currently at called ODA Auto Works. They are a body shop located in Covina, California, and they are the guys to go to for all your body repair needs. And they are the guys gracious enough to give me a little spot here to work on my car. So with that being said, let me show you guys the front bumper. Ooh. Okay. So if you take a look at the front bumper over here, you can see that this is pretty much all stripped to plastic. But if you look very closely over here, I will show you guys on camera. I'm going to zoom in. There's actually a crack over here that I need to repair, along with probably like some other bits too. But the thing about that is I actually tried to repair it prior, and as you can see, there's like fiberglass here that I used to try to put it back together, but that clearly didn't last long. So with that being said, my goal is to basically clean this up, and I can give this to the body man to actually help me do all the repairs on the bumper too. So now essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up all the inside of the bumper so that I can actually get towards repairing everything and laying down a good foundation and structural foundation for the bumper. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into that. All right guys, I basically cleaned up all the little areas on what I tried to repair, and the foundation of just literally plastic is now back to where it's at. However, it is starting to rain. With that being said, I don't think I can film with the rain out with my camera and stuff like that. So literally it's raining. The rain literally came out of nowhere, and now I'm packing everything up. That kind of sucks. But anyways, I'm gonna probably wait till tomorrow. I'm gonna clap now, so I'm gonna fast forward to the next day, or I don't know. All right guys, so it is now the next day, and as you can see over here, I have my little side things. This goes right in between the A-pillar and the rear quarter panel and the trunk, that little section over there. I'm gonna unwrap these today, and today should be relatively chill. I have all the part numbers I need to order, like all the A-pillar seals that I broke and ripped. I'll get that figured out. Anyways, that being said, I'm gonna remove these today. Let's go ahead and get started. Now for the next one. All right, so as you can see, these are unwrapped. The leftover vinyl here, I'm gonna throw that away. Now, those are pretty much done. I am going to put these to the side. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna order all my extra parts, and on Monday, today is Friday, on Monday, I'm gonna primer everything all in one go. So close to getting to paint. With that being said, I'm gonna clap now. It's gonna fast forward to the next Monday. All right, so it is the following Monday, and I just got to the shop. I moved my car, and then I found out that I think there is something wrong with my car. To give you a synopsis of what I discovered, basically I can move the car in and out of gear when the car is off, but the moment that I turn it on, I literally cannot put it in gear or take it out of gear, leaving me to think that the clutch will not disengage or engage. So with that being said, after doing some research, I believe my clutch slave cylinder went out, or my clutch master cylinder. I'm gonna buy both the parts and replace them. I'll document me replacing it as well, but if those don't fix it, then it is probably my clutch. And to be completely transparent with you guys, I have zero income at the very moment, and I have been on zero income for the past like 4 months. If this ends up being a 4-digit repair, that is gonna hurt just a little bit and put me in a little bit of stress. But it's okay. It is okay. The Lord will provide. Anyways, this is the reality of just working with an old car. So it is what it is. All right guys, so for the sake of this video, what I'm gonna be doing today is I'm going to be essentially block sanding the car. I'm gonna be spraying on guy coat onto the car, and then I'm gonna use 400 grit and sand over it until it's all completely flat. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I got the guy coat sprayed onto the car. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get 400 grit and basically block sand the whole entire car. Hopefully by today I can finish the left and right. I don't know if I'm gonna get to the front and rear, but let's see how far we can get today. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so as you can see, the passenger side is now done. The door, rear quarter panel, and the A-pillar, I have just finished block sanding. Now it's time to move on to the other side. All right, so as you can see, the left and right side are pretty much done. All that's left is for the trunk and the front to be block sanded. After that, I got to wet sand and do a whole bunch of work too. So with that being said, I'm gonna clap now. It's gonna fast forward to the next day. All right, it is now the next day, and as you can see over here behind me, I have my hood. I already sprayed on the guide coat on the hood, and basically all that's left for me is to block sand it. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, I just wrapped up basically block sanding the whole entire hood. The hood is now done. Now it's time to do this panel over here, which is the trunk. I'm gonna block sand this real quick, and after that, we'll see how far we can get today. Let's go ahead and get started. All right guys, so the trunk is now done being block sanded. So that being said, I'm gonna clean up now, and I'm gonna clap now. It's gonna fast forward to the next day. All right, so it is the next day, and as you can see, I have my bumpers over here. I need to do a little light sanding before we actually surround the primer on all the other parts. So if you look over here, you can see, obviously I sanded a little bit too far to the point where you can feel the grooves and everything. So we placed Bondo over it, and along with some other parts too. I gotta sand these before we actually put on the primer. So let's go ahead and get into those. All right guys, so I basically sanded this area, but I also had to kind of put on another layer because I went a little bit too far. I used 220 grit. I probably should have used a little higher grit, but besides the point, we added another layer. This is about ready and done being dried. I'm gonna use 400 grit sanded down, and that should be, this panel should basically be ready for the primer. I also did another part too. I'm gonna put on the screen right now. I did this part. I totally neglected to record it. Not gonna lie to you guys, I am probably not really in the mood to film today, and I'm just in the mood to kind of just get things going, but this is something I gotta work on in my own headspace, and I just need to really get myself to position the camera and then film versus just, you know, putting this aside and say, screw the filming, I'm just gonna do it. If I'm really trying to pick myself up and get to the finish line, or at least just get it to where everything's primered. So the finish line is very much so in my sight. I'm kind of just yapping at this point, but anyways, I'm gonna use 400 grit, sand this down. This should be ready to go. See how far we can get. All right guys, so since that last time lapse, most of my parts actually have been primered. As you can see over here, I'm gonna put on screen right now. You're gonna see everything pretty much being primered. I neglected to record that, but anyways, with that being said, now that the front bumper and the rear bumper have been primered, now it's time for me to actually sand it down again. Let's see how far I can get today. All right guys, so as you can see, I used a sander and I pretty much used 400 grit on the whole entire surface on areas that I could. Anyways, the rest of the stuff I need to do by hand, and I'm gonna wet sand those, but I'm gonna do that tomorrow. So I'm gonna clap now. It's gonna fast forward to the next day. All right, so it is the next day, and as you can see in front of me, I have my rear bumper. I'm gonna essentially spray guide coat on this and use the sander to sand it down. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started on this bumper. All right, so I knocked down as much as I could with the sander, and as you can see, there's some areas that I gotta definitely do by hand that I'm gonna leave to do again. I'm gonna leave the areas where I couldn't hit with the sander alone. All right guys, so I have my passenger side front fender over here. I'm gonna spray on guide coat and block sand it with 400 grit. Let's go ahead and get started. All right guys, so it is currently almost 3 p.m. and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it is extremely hot and it's kind of getting to a point where I don't know if I want to continue working on the car. With that being said, I also kind of been slacking on reading the Bible, so I do kind of want to go home and just be in the Word right now. So I'm gonna leave early. I'm gonna clap now. It's gonna fast forward to the next Monday. All right, so it is the following Monday, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I feel absolutely defeated in regards to just doing this work, even in other stuff too, in my personal life too, but regardless, I still must push through. And as you can see in front of me, I have my front bumper, and within the insides over here, I could not get this with a sander. So I'm gonna do this by hand. Let's go ahead and see how far we can get today. Okay, so I just finished sanding the front bumper. This is pretty much ready to go to be sprayed again once more for primer. I'm gonna now put this aside and bring over the rear bumper. All right guys, so I've moved the rear bumper over here. As you can see right over here, I'm gonna walk around over here and show you guys what I'm gonna do by hand. Essentially this part over here, as you can see, I am gonna do this by hand. Obviously I can't get it with a sander. So let's go ahead and knock this out, and this panel should be ready for primers. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I just finished sanding down the rear bumper with 400 grit. This is pretty much ready to be primered one more time. It's kind of late, so I'm gonna clap now and fast forward to the next day. All right guys, so it has been a couple of days, and well, today I have my front lip in front of me. I'm gonna be block sanding these, and later within today, I will be primering my front and rear bumper as well. It is extremely hot today, and it is quite windy, as you can tell from the umbrella too. But without further ado, let's go ahead and see how far we can get today. I'm gonna do the front lip, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so front lips are now done. I'm gonna move that to the side. Now I have the rear wing little parts. My rear mid wing is gonna be in 3 pieces. These are the left and right side, as you can see over here. I'm gonna throw on Geico and I'm gonna start sanding. All right, so the rear little flap things are done. Now it's time for the middle section of the mid wing, which is gonna be over here. I'm gonna go ahead and sand this down. All right, today we are making some good progress. The front lips are now done being sanded. The mid wing is now done being sanded. Now I'm going to move on to the gas tank cap. I'm gonna go ahead and sand this. Afterwards, if I have time, I'm gonna do the side skirts. And after that, all the ones that are off the car are done being sanded. So we are moving pretty quick today. Pretty happy. Let's see how far we can get. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so that's pretty quick. I finished the gas tank cover cap thing, and now I'm gonna move on to the side skirts. So I'm gonna go ahead and move those over here and start sanding those as well. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, y'all, so as you can see, I have my side skirt right here. I sprayed on Geico. What I'm gonna do is essentially wet sand it, and after this should be ready for paint. So let's go ahead and get started. All right guys, so I just finished wet sanding the side skirt, or at least one side. I need to do the other ones tomorrow, and I need to wet sand the rest of the parts. I just finished block sanding those. So I think we're getting pretty close to paint, guys. I don't know about you, but anyways, I'm gonna clap now, so I'm gonna fast forward to the next day. All right guys, so it is the next day, and as you can see over here, I have the other side of my side skirt right over here. I already sprayed on the guide coat, and all I'm pretty much gonna do is I'm going to wet sand this. So today, I'm gonna be very focused on getting stuff done. I'm gonna try to minimize commentary to a max. So within the next couple 10 to 20 seconds, it's probably gonna be a lot of work. So let's just go ahead and get into it. All right guys, so I just finished my side skirts. I put them to the side. Now what I'm gonna do is work on my gas tank cover cap. I'm gonna wet sand this, and along with my rear wing spats or rear wing side pieces. After that, I'm gonna do the front fender. After that, I'm gonna do the rear mid wing and the front lips. So enough chatting, let's get sanding. Next is gonna be the rear wing little side pieces. I'm gonna go ahead and wet sand these too. Driver's side is now done. Now it's time for the passenger side. Let's go ahead and get sanding on the other side. All right, next I got my front lip, and as you can see, I already sprayed on the guide coat onto it. I'm just gonna wet sand it real quick, and I got my other part too that I'm gonna do. Let's get started. Like I said, let's get started like so many times throughout this video. All right, one side is done. Now it's time for the other side. right, so now my front lips are done being wet sanded. Time to put these away. I'm gonna get the rear wing, and I'm gonna do the rear wing and the front fenders, and that should be it. All right, I'm trying to move as quick as I can. So now, got the rear mid wing. This is the middle section. Let's go ahead and get working on this. I already sprayed on guide coat, so let's get started. All right guys, so I got my front fenders over here. As you can see, I sprayed on the guide coat. Now it's time to start wet sanding. All right guys, so now I have the other side. I'm gonna start sanding this as well. All right guys, so before I leave, I'm actually gonna spray on the primer. I don't know if me or Oscar are gonna spray it on, but I'm gonna film this right now. We're gonna spray on the primer and let it dry. As you can see behind me over here, I have my front bumper, rear bumper over there, and I have my rear license plate holder over there too. Those are pretty much all the parts I need. Primer one more time. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. All right guys, so as you can see, I just finished primering my rear, front, and license plate holder. That was my first time ever spraying primer, and I thought that was pretty fun. So with that being said, thank you, Oscar, for allowing me to actually use the gun. I'm gonna wait for these to dry, and I'm gonna basically sand them again. So I think we are getting pretty close to paint. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.